Welcome back to another one, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a special treat for you today. Stay tuned. Hey guys and gals, welcome back. I told you I had a special one for you tonight. We are at the Chelmsford Fish and Game Association Walleye Hatchery, and I'm going to have a special guest, Kyle, walk us through the hatchery and how it all works. And be sure to stick around so that you know how you can join, be a member, or just support the hatchery and the club. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're here with Kyle. He's going to explain to us about the hatchery, and then we're going to go inside and we're going to show you everything that goes on.
Hi there, I'm Kyle Renault. I'm Hatchery Director for the Chelmsford Fish and Game Association, and this is our hatchery. We'll take you around today and show you the step-by-step process and a little breakdown on what we do here.
So this is where we start then? Okay, so Kyle, so obviously we have to start somewhere when you're dealing with hatching fish out. So where would we start the process?
So typically we're going to start by harvesting our females and our male walleye, either through methods of trap netting, which we place a net in the river, and it has two large wings that span both sides so that the walleye swim through and get caught in this trap net. And then we remove them and harvest the eggs from there. We also use a shocker boat, which we have ties to through Kilgore, and they help us harvest our walleye on Tubbyguyoutdoors Lake as well. So those are two of the most prominent methods we use for harvesting fish, and from there we're looking to collect the eggs from the females and mix them with milk from the males. And we're also adding a kaolin clay mixture to seal the pores on the eggs, so that way they don't seal up together, they don't stick together, sorry, and we can place them in our jars that way, because in nature they naturally want to stick to rocks and other places where predators can't get them, and that way they stay in place.
Okay. So in this case, because we want to keep the eggs moving, we don't want them to stick together.
Absolutely. Okay. That's right. The
Perfect.
big reason for that is we need the oxygen to actually reach all sides of the egg in order for it to mature properly.
Okay. Very cool. Well, what we're going to do now, we know that would be where we would start. We're going to move into the building and we're going to see the magic. Okay, so as you guys can see, this is where the eggs get placed, and then from there, Kyle's going to explain how it all works.
So once we've harvested our eggs, we place them in these incubator jars where they have a constant flow, and we monitor them closely. All of the eggs that are not as healthy as we'd like them to be, we'll actually siphon out of this jar and place into our next jar here, which is called a hospital jar, in order to give them the best possible chance of survival. Some of these do also hatch and they will be healthy. We're just isolating them from the rest of the group to reduce our chances of mortality.
Excellent. So when they start to hatch, they then go into these bins?
That's right.
Okay. So yeah, you want to show the bin there?
Yeah,
excellent. Okay. Okay, so the next step, I know they have to go somewhere from the incubators. So Kyle, what happens after things start happening in the incubators?
So once they hatch, they sit in the incubator for a short period of time as they develop to be stronger swimmers. And once they get strong enough, they'll typically swim up to the top and out of the jar into these tubs. These tubs are outfitted with a sock over a drain. And the reason being is we typically will batch our fries from here to bring to local lakes and divide them that way.
Okay.
The drains themselves will overflow into the ponds in case of any other emergency. That way they're localized and we know where they went.
Perfect. That's a really cool safety net. So
Yeah.
if something should go wrong, heaven forbid, they're not just lost.
Absolutely.
They're going somewhere.
They're going somewhere, and hopefully once they grow a little bit, we do still stand a chance to batch them from there if need be.
Right.
Or if the number isn't too large and sustainable for the ponds, we can leave them in there to grow to be a little bit bigger before we stock them.
And what is the purpose of the feathers?
The feathers are here to stir the jars if we need to do any cleaning. We actually use them since they don't crush the eggs. We typically use eagle feathers or geese feathers. What we do to disinfect the eggs is actually use a mixture of peroxide and water. We dilute it, and then we'll put it in the jar, clean up any scum or any fungi that we see, and it'll also help lift the unhealthy eggs to the top, where we'll then place them again in the hospital jar for a second chance at survival.
That's really cool. So it's really interesting that, you know, you hear about the fish hatcheries and you hear about, you know, you don't really hear all that goes on. You know, there's a lot to it, and there's every egg gets more than one chance at becoming a walleye or whatever, right? In this case, walleye. So it's really interesting to know that it's not just a, you know, nobody really knows the process. At least I didn't know the process.
It's quite an
right?
intensive process, and it involves multiple, it's 2 months typically. So when we put the eggs in the jar, from there they typically take 21 days to hatch fully, depending on water temperature and whatnot. So it's a good 2 month period of really hard work and long intensive days and nights.
So there you go, guys. That's why supporting these local groups like the Chelmsford Fish and Game Association is so important, because these men and women are volunteering their time to make sure this stuff happens for us so that we can go out on the lake and enjoy catching these walleyes. So we're going to mention more about that later, how you can support not only the Chelmsford Fish and Game Association, but your local Fish and Game Association. So let's go check out the ponds, because I have been kind of curious about those. This is awesome. This is where the magic happens, but I kind of want to see the ponds.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. Okay, so here we are at the pond. So there's, obviously you can see this one, but there's also a pond right behind us. So what happens in the ponds, Kyle?
So, majority of our fry are going into the lakes. We only have a certain amount of room for fries in these ponds, but what we typically do with these is we actually grow them a little bit larger until they become fingerlings. The reason being is that they stand a better chance, and that way we can put them back and they'll strive just a little bit better than the fries will.
So, sorry, I'm going to cut you off there real quick. For anybody that may not know, at what stage does a fry become a fingerling? How long or what?
So a fry will be from hatchling typically to about an inch, inch and a half to 2 inches long, at which point they become a fingerling.
Okay. Okay, so now we've got some fingerlings out in the pond. What, I understand that this is sort of a growing area, you want them to get a little bit bigger. So the reason for letting them get a bit bigger is for predation purposes? They're not fed on
health,
as easily?
they just typically, they're stronger at that point.
Okay.
They're very much developed.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, check it out. So another question I had was, what's up with the boards in the ponds?
So all these boards you see there actually act as shades. So the shades give the opportunity for the fries to actually hide, or fingerlings, depending what stage they're at in the ponds, and they'll hide underneath just to get out of the heat and the sun. The other things you see floating around in the middle of the ponds are actually aerators. They help to provide oxygen to the water and help cool down the temperature as well. And we also have at the end of the dock here, we have two aerator stones, which also help to oxygenate the water as much as possible.
Everything, sorry guys about the noise, obviously we can't control the neighbors, so everything that is in the ponds obviously serves a purpose.
Yes.
And all for the health of the fry or the fingerlings, depending on what's in the pond at the time.
That's correct.
Awesome.
We also, what we'll do, so contrary to most other hatcheries that'll feed pellets to the fish, we feed the bugs the culture in our ponds, which is much different from many beliefs. So what we'll do is we actually mix a batch of feed, which is consistent of alfalfa pellets, soybean meal, and brewer's yeast. And what it does is we mix it up, it ferments, and it feeds the bugs in the pond, which the walleye will tend to eat as well as they develop. And yeah, that's how we get our healthy fries as we go along the process.
That's really cool, and I think probably something maybe that is overlooked. It makes more sense to me to feed them what they're going to be eating when they're when they're released into the lakes.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a pellet that, how would those, I don't know how much credit you want to give a fish, but you feed a fish pellets all the time and then turn it loose into a lake.
They become dependent on it. They
Yeah,
don't feed as
right.
well as
Obviously,
they should.
they're going to adapt and figure it out, but giving them that bump start at the beginning and not having to figure it out, it can't only but help them.
Absolutely. We try to keep it as natural as we can because they are only here for a short period of time. We're just helping the population as much as possible. Our hatch rate is typically anywhere from 80 to 90%, as opposed to in the wild where they'll only do 1 to 3% because of all the given elements.
Right. Again, guys and gals, I can't say it enough. I can't stress it enough. The importance of your local clubs and these hatcheries for everybody's enjoyment and for the future of fishing in general. So I'm going to say it again, get out there and support your local clubs. I think what we're going to do now is we are going to take a quick walk down to the lake, and then that'll conclude our interview. So let's go down to the lake, check it out, and see where all this wonderful stuff goes. Okay, guys and gals, we wanted to come down to the lake because a big part of, or an important part of it, is right here. This connects to the hatchery, and Kyle's going to explain us the purposes and why it's there and what it's for.
So ultimately, when we start our season, we begin with, we have 2 large pumps in our pump house, and we pump our water from the lake to fill the ponds. Once we get to the end of the season, we'll actually connect this trough here to the end of the piping system that we use to fill in the spring, and we'll dump the ponds into this trough. So the way that our ponds are designed, they actually are built to be tapered, so they're 1 foot deep at one end, and they stope down to about 10 foot deep at the other end. That way everything channels into that pipeway so that it all comes down, and it makes it easier for us to drain into this trough. And from there, we'll actually batch them up again and either distribute to other lakes or put into our host lake, which is Vermilion Lake.
So when you say batch up, you're just meaning getting them ready.
Getting our
to
numbers.
be distributed. Okay.
Absolutely. We're splitting them up between as much as we can amongst all the lakes. We try to keep all the lakes as healthy as we can.
Okay.
So we try to split them up and just get an accurate number that we want to bring, and then we just distribute from there.
Okay, so in those batches, how obviously it's going to be nearly impossible to count every little fry or fingerling. So what do we do to get a semi-accurate number?
So the way that we do it is we actually use a system of weight. So we'll put some water in a container depending on how many we're looking to actually count, and then we'll zero out the calibration on it and go from the weight that we add from there on of fingerling. We have a formula that we go by, and it gives us the proper amount of approximately how much we have.
Right. Perfect. So not only are these hatcheries benefiting their home lake, but surrounding lakes. Again, I'm going to beat it to death, but support your local groups and hatcheries. And that being said, Kyle, how can we, and for our viewers, what can we do? How do we contact you to support the Chelmsford Fish and Game Association?
So the way that we fund our operation is we sell membership. What we do is we sell an annual membership for $40 a year, and it entitles our members to use our property. We have a large parking area here. We also offer 2 boat launches and a nice set of docks. The boat launches are very nice. They have a cement pad, so it's a very beautiful launch, and that's one of the biggest benefits we give to our members. The other thing we do is we also keep the launch plowed, or the parking plowed rather, for the winter season, so that if anybody has ice huts and whatnot, they can also use our launch to gain access to the lake. As far as other clubs, the best way I can suggest for people to help out is to get in touch with your local club and see if they need any help. As you mentioned earlier, Wyatt, all our work is volunteer based. Nobody earns a paycheck from it, so we need help as far as people helping for cutting the grass or stocking or whatever it might be. A lot of the jobs are tedious, but that's just the way the hatchery works.
Okay, so getting involved, buying a membership, as far as for us in my area, obviously I'm a member, but if I didn't know where to go, where can I find a membership?
We do sell our memberships here at the property when anybody is available. Otherwise, we sell them in Chelmsford at Petro Canada Station. The Northern Quality Baits, she sells them for us, as well as Gillo's gas and Lube in Dowling. They sell memberships for us, and then from time to time, like I said, if somebody's on property, we always have them available with us as well.
Perfect. So if you're in the greater Sudbury area and you want to come out and support, and I really can't stress it enough, come on out and support. Either come and check it out. If there's somebody here, you can get a membership from them. If not, you can go to the Petrocan and to the, sorry, it was Northern
Quality Baits.
Northern Quality Baits in Chelmsford, and
Gillo's
Gas in Dowling. So if you're in the greater Sudbury area, head down to those places, buy your memberships, and support this amazing hatchery. And if you have the time and you can, become a volunteer. And not only for here, but in your local area, wherever you may be, support your local groups. So Kyle, I want to thank you so much for taking us on the tour.
Thank you for stopping by, and glad we can educate you.
It was awesome. We are going to have to get together again, and maybe at some point, if we can figure it out, the timelines, we can see some of these fingerlings or hatchlings being put into the lake.
Absolutely.
So right on. So guys, again, support your local clubs, and remember, it's never a bad day to be more outdoors.